Ah, hello. Hello, hello. Voilà. Hmm. Hello, hi Lisa. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Mettez-moi des cœurs. Hello, Adila. Mettez-moi des cœurs si vous m'entendez. Mettez-moi dans les commentaires si vous pouvez m'entendre. Est-ce qu'on m'entend? Vous m'entendez bien ou pas? Non, vous m'entendez pas du tout. Vous ne m'entendez pas du tout. Hello. Alors, est-ce que vous m'entendez quand je parle? Ouais, vous m'entendez quand je parle? Merci Salomé. Vous m'entendez bien quand je parle? Alors on va un petit peu. Bonjour Cédric. Bonjour Salomé. Hello Douara. Mélessie. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hi everybody. Voilà. Woo! Ça, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up. Hello, 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 hello everyone. Wow, we've got London, we've got New York, we've got Paris, we have Africa, we've got people from absolutely all over the world. It's a very international evening tonight, huh? So what we're going to be talking, yesterday we were talking about digital growth with the digital ladies, how to, we had all the little hacks to pimp up your, so yeah, UK, you had all the hacks to pimp up your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your website, all the SEO tips, and you can watch this episode going back in the Instagram live. Very, very insightful, packed of hacks. So if you're struggling with your platform, if you want your platform to grow, and if you don't have the means or the budget of a big brand, you can actually learn the small tricks. So tonight, what we are talking about tonight is going to be marketing. I have invited a DIRCOM in Paris. We call that a DIRCOM, like marketing director. And they are in charge of all the communication and strategy for the brands. They are the big people. Hopla. Let me just they are the big they are the one second, yeah, okay, they are the big people for the brand, doing all the strategy, doing all the marketing strategy. Can you hear me? Could you put that in the could you put in the messages, in your comments? Could you put messages to see if you can hear me? Because I've got the feeling that there's something that's not working here. No? Okay. So it is working. Good. So tonight, marketing. Marketing for small brand by the big brand. Marketing by people who work for big brands, doing big projects, sometimes with small means as well. So this is what we're going to learn tonight. How to be small with big ambition. So I'm going to invite Sophie. Let me invite her. Where is Sophie? I'm going to invite Sophie so she can about her career. She worked in fashion, she worked in beauty for small, for big brand. She works in, hello Nalini, hi. She works in big brand, fashion, beauty, kids, adult, absolutely every single brand that you can hello darling, that you can absolutely imagine. People, like we said yesterday, no, on Monday, when I had the talk with the PR agency, often people are confused with what a PR does and with what a marketer does and what someone who does branding does as well. So this also can be a bit confusing, but this is where it's important to have live like tonight, because as you know, as a small brand, when you want to have a sponsor, when you want to do partnership, when you want to grow through collaboration, people, and that's the right way to do, tend to go to the PRs. I never do. I tend to go to marketing director, because they are at the top and they make all the decision, and it works better for me. But I'm going to invite her again. Lisa, could you give a nudge to Sophie, because she's not responding? 1 second. Sophie. Yeah, hello. So yeah, so that's what I tend to do when I wanted to go after big budget. I would go and see marketing director. But then if I want to do a partnership where I just want like goodies for goodie bags, I tend to go and see PR agencies, because they are very, very good at that. But if I want the money, the big money, and if I want to do the strategy for the big brand, whatever, whether it's fashion or beauty, it doesn't matter, regardless. This is the marketing director that I go and see. And I've been very successful over the years to get sponsorship and partnership via those two channel of communication. I don't know why Sophie is not responding. I don't know where she is. Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna go. So what is the job of a marketing director? Marketing director does, well, I can't get hold of Sophie. So Sophie, if you're in the conversation, could you please let us know, because I can't invite you, you're not responding. Lisa, Salome, Yael, could you please get in touch with Sophie, please? Thank you. So if you have an event, and if you want to do all the partnership, yes, you go and see a marketing director. Now you're going to ask me, but how do you approach them? You know, it's a bit complicated. What is the format? An email, a phone call? Where and how do I find them? Well, it's pretty easy nowadays, yeah, because you have LinkedIn. So you have a lot of the executive in LinkedIn, and you can make a request. What I would also always advise, it's when, Sophie's here. I was doing the conference without you. Sophie's here. There you go. So Sophie is here. Hello, Ellen. Yeah, I've sent the request. She's connecting.
Ah, super.
Yes.
Ça va?
Très bien.
Tu m'entends? Okay.
It's freezing a bit, but let's do a sound test. How are you doing?
I'm fine. And you?
Very good. And the sound is fantastic. So,
okay,
this is Sophie Wittmer. She's an expert in marketing. She's been working for like over...
Don't mention it.
5 years experience altogether, working for very, very, very brand. And like I said, from the very small brand like not childcare, but kids brand, to the big beauty brand, and then the more like couture brand like Armani. So really, she's an expert with everything to do with strategy and how to organize the system in your brand. So Sophie, could you introduce yourself a little bit in what you're doing?
Okay. So first of all, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Agnes, for having invited me to this live tonight. So as you said, I'm a marketing and communication specialist. I've been working for 25 years, for international luxury brands in the fashion, in the cosmetics, and in the spirits industry as well. I have worked in agencies as well as advertisers in companies of different sizes, SMEs, multinational, but also for independent emerging designers. So I'm an expert in brand identity and branding strategy, and I spent a number of years working for let's say a patrimonial brand.
Yeah.
I'm based in Paris, beautiful Paris. And I love, with no particular order, chocolate, yoga, Pilates, and curious and open-minded people. Voilà.
So, in your day-to-day as a marketing director, what are the 5 things that is the core of your, apart from being on the phone, what are your 5 core responsibilities?
Well, there is no, what is nice is that we are really working in an industry of changes. Everything is evolving very fast. And from a day to another one, I mean, you never do the same thing. So you create, you write creative briefs for the agencies you are partnering with. You set up events. You analyze your competitors. You produce content. You elaborate campaigns. So it's very, and you manage multiple social media platforms. So it's very, very different. And voilà.
So, because usually when you say PR or marketing, people always imagine like Samantha in Sex and the City. So is your job that glamorous?
Of course, I spend all my evening drinking champagne in a fancy in the fancy places. No. This is a nice part of the job. But no, you work strong every day from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
No, this is the job that it is true. You work really hard. You work also very long hour. And because when you do marketing, everything is kind of live, when it has to be done, it has to be done. So it's very far from the glamorous, the glamour only comes to the end, really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work. And yes, it's a lot of work, but still what is really important to me is always to create a very nice and friendly environment, especially because you spend a lot of hours dedicated to your work. It's also important to create nice and friendly environment when you work with your team.
Earlier on, you were saying that you work with agency. So what do you mean by working with agency? Because with some brands, a lot of things are being made in-house. So what sort of agencies or freelancer do you work with outside of your in-house?
I started my career working for agencies like PR agencies, let's say press relations agencies, public relations agencies, and also event agencies. But as a marketing and communication specialist, when I work with agencies, it can be freelancer, graphic freelance, like, for example. It can be advertising agencies, and it can be digital agencies as well.
Okay. So when you let's say if you're a young graphic designer, if you are a young startup providing communication skills, okay, I'm gonna give an example based on me because I actually met through a friend that was working at L'Oreal, and me, I've worked with L'Oreal as a service provider, and then I worked into all the other fashion house as a service provider. But it was through recommendation because someone noticed me. So I never really had to approach a marketing director. Okay, so if a person like me who's got like a one-man band agency wants to collaborate with the marketing director, what is the best way? Because I know that most of the time people are very busy in those industries. What is the best way to grab your attention?
You have to, it's very difficult because we are very busy, so you have to be part of conferences like the one you are working on with Blessing. You have to be visible, let's say, so you have to send also emails to the marketing directors, and you have to try also to contact them through professional social medias like LinkedIn, for example.
Okay, and then so once we have identified the best channel of communication to get hold of you, and that we're a bit more confident, and we say, okay, I'm going to send an email to DR because I want to have goodie bags. What are the sorts of information or presentation that makes you go, I want to work with those people, you know? I think I could have collaboration. So let's say I have an event and I want to have some goodie bags in my event, and your brand like way more bigger than my event. Because sometimes I see that I had this lady in Paris. She was doing a master class, and in the master class she had so much product, like perfume, cream, and I was like, how did she pitch them? So what would make the difference between a bad presentation and a good presentation and a good pitch presentation in order to have those goodie bags and start this communication with the brand?
So you have to be very clear on your messages, and you have to create short and very creative presentation in order to, catch the attention of the marketing director or the communication team.
And also, if I should say, people sometimes think that it's very hard to get hold of the big brand. It's very hard to get their attention. Sometimes it's not always, because people like Sophie, sometimes they are so busy. Most of the information that they get comes through their computers, and they come through the PR as well. So to break the circle of computer PRs, sometimes if you have a presentation, you really, actually, all the time, when you have a presentation that you want to send to a big brand, you always consistently has to take the point of view of the big brand. Not what you want, not what you'd like, not what you need.
You have to explain what you can bring to them in terms of audience, for example, in terms of community. So you have to be. It has to be a win-win for for both parts.
The audience, the brand.
For the brand and also the agency. In that case, in that specific place.
And I think that nowadays with Canva, with PowerPoint, there's so many ways to do very good presentation as well, you know, that it's becoming plus LinkedIn is becoming more and more easier to do that. But what I'd like to go also and touch a little bit on, it's what is a strategy? Because loads of young entrepreneurs, the most difficult thing is like they want to go straight to the fashion, straight to the garment, straight to the product, which is all the fun part, but all the strategy side of it, they do it once the product needs to be sold, and therefore it becomes like a catch-24, because they need to ship that product, they need to ship that brand, and then they need to make that money, and they don't have time to strategize. So what would you say are the key points for a successful marketing strategies?
The first thing is that when you consider of launching a new brand, beside the product, you really have to define your business identity, personality. What is your promise to your customers, and also what your business stands for. It's not only about the product. But it's really all about creating a very positive perception in the customer mind, and to differentiate your business from the competitors. Okay, so you what your brand stands for, and if you are not able pinpoint what is your brand identity, nobody else will be able to do it. So you will.
So it was cutting a little bit when you were talking, so I could hear. I'm going to recap a little bit. The first thing is to really define the brand identity.
Yes, and your brand personality.
Or to not focus just on the product. So if you do trousers, you can obsess about trousers. It's just like the tip of the iceberg of making a brand. If you do a cream, you're going to focus on the texture and the smell, but that's just the tip of the iceberg of having a brand and making a brand and making a product. Okay, what you also need to think about it. Who's going to buy? How much is going to buy it? What are your competitors? How do they compete? What have they done? What have they not done? Find the loopholes. Isn't that in that? Or also look at all your competition. Took all the best stuff of the competition and mix it into one package. So that helps you to define your market, and also that helps to give an identity to your product. Can you can't hear me? You can't hear me? Can you hear me, guys? Could you put in the comments if you can hear Sophie? Me, she can't hear me. Can anyone else hear Sophie? Can you hear us? Can you hear me or not? Can you hear me? What? Can you, one second, can you hear me? Okay, so you can hear me, okay, but you can't hear Sophie. Okay, try again, Sophie. Can you talk so we can do a sound test? Sophie, I'm gonna re-invite you. Wait. I'm gonna re-invite Sophie, and we're gonna keep talking to her. Give me 1 second to re-invite Sophie, because that was a very interesting part. How to define your brand, because people often make the mistake not to do it properly, and therefore you can't reach your market. Some people are really rubbish. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
So
what was your question?
Find your brand. We were saying how you were explaining to us how to define a brand.
How to start a brand?
No, define a brand.
How to define a brand identity?
Yeah. No, a brand, like, how do you define a brand? Like, I have a perfume, but I don't know how to say it. So how am I going to define the brand to my consumer?
You have to, what? Excuse me?
How to define a brand? I don't think she
You have to, no. It's not working.
We can't hear you. I'm going to re-invite you. Lisa, écris le nom de la personne quand tu poses la question. I'm going to re-invite Sophie. So this is what I think, yeah? To define a brand, you really, really, really have to know what you want from that brand as well and why you have created that brand. And that would help the definition, and that will help you to form collaboration with like-minded people also to launch this brand, to collaborate, to launch a brand. It's also very good to work with other people who've been there maybe a little bit before you, brand who've got a bigger audience or an audience absolutely on your level as well. So we are back with Sophie. Can you hear us better, Sophie?
Yes, thank you.
Better as well. So what I was saying, Sophie, is I would like you to develop on the subject of defining a brand. So first of all, tell us, for which brand did you work before?
I've worked for a cosmetics brand, and I worked for a fashion brand for children. And I also worked for an accessorized fashion brand called Roger Vivier, for example.
But which one?
Roger Vivier.
Okay. And in fashion?
A fashion brand for children.
Yeah, but which one?
Bon Point.
Okay, okay. And then when you want to market fashion for children, what are the strategy? How do you define a children brand? Because you have the consumer is going to be a child, but you need to sell it to the mother, and at the same time the mother has to accept it. So how do you sell a kids brand? You know?
First, it's very ambitious to want to create a fashion brand for children. Even if the categories are similar to the adult fashion brands, you have subject topics that are Do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes?
I can.
Okay.
I can, yeah. Go on.
So, the difference between children fashion brands and adult fashion brands are very specific. So, in terms of grading, regulations and safety standards, creative process, and also marketing activities. So, in terms of grading, in adult ready-to-wear, when you develop an outfit, to grade the different sizes, you take every measurement points and then you adapt them according to the size for each size in order to keep the style and the proportion of the outfits. So it's quite simple. For the children, it's far more complicated, and you can understand why, because children they have less defined body shape. So they have barely a neck. They have this adorable pot belly that we all love to kiss and tickle. And also they wear, especially the toddlers, they wear diapers. So of course, you cannot use the same grading system than for adults, and you have to adjust some measurement points in order to adapt the shape of the outfits according to the body shape of the children, depending of their age.
Of course.
It's also costly and time consuming. So this is also something very important that the designer designers have to take into account if they are working on launching a fashion brand for children.
Okay.
Besides the grading, as I said, there is also regulation and safety standards. So when you are willing to import and sell a fashion brand abroad, you have to follow very specific regulation in terms of standards and label requirements. So in Europe, it is called REACH, and in the US, it is called CPSC.
Okay. Okay.
So
and then
you have to prove you have to prove that your product is safe for the children. And if you are not able to provide all those documents, it might be very at risk for your brand. Then, in terms of creative process, you have to create products that are very practical before thinking of, willing to develop something very creative and very trendy. And also in terms of marketing activities, for the children markets, you might know that the children before the age of 11, 90% of them own their own device, and also they have a smartphone when they are at secondary school. So they are all very exposed to a lot of content and a lot of brands, even when they are young.
Okay.
So it's very difficult to stand out. And as you mentioned, when you want to develop a fashion brand for children, in terms of marketing, you have to target the children, okay? But you also have to target the parents.
Okay.
As they are the final decision makers in terms of purchase.
Let me stop you there. You said you have to target the parents and the children, right?
Yes.
So that's what I want to know. How do you do a strategy to target parents? How do you seduce parents and children at the same time? What are the strategies that you can put in place?
Even if you have to remain consistent in terms of messages and in terms of image, of course, you have to adapt a little bit the platforms when you want to target them. For example, if you want to target young children, maybe you will advertise in a TV channel like Bully or Disney Channel, and for the teenagers, for example, will maybe on TikTok, okay? And for the parents, you, of course,
ça bug
on your product, social media platform, Facebook or Instagram, for example.
Okay. Okay. So for instance, so we've talked a little bit about fashion. Let's go a little bit towards beauty, because you have a big experience also with beauty. If I wanted to launch, because I have a lot of brands that they want, a lot of people during lockdown, they've been thinking, hi New York, they've been looking at launching their own brands and it doesn't work, and they'll be launching 1 launch, 2 launch, 3 launch. If you have a beauty brand, a very small brand with next to no budget, what would you say would be the best? What would you say would be the 3 actions to launch a small beauty brand?
Do you hear me?
No, yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so we've touched on the fashion, that's okay. Now, if you had a small beauty brand and you wanted to do a launch, but you do not really have any budget, what would you recommend? Recommend like 3 little action to launch a product. What would it be? If something effective, efficient, and not too expensive.
Well, it's very difficult to reply to this question. It seems, but of course, you have to go digital. You have to have a strong digital strategies. You have to also, if you can, work with micro influencers. So you don't have to spend money with them, but it can help you to build a strong partnerships with them and help you to build, your brand awareness step by step, and also the brand recognition. So it's very difficult, especially also because the cosmetic industries and the beauty market is also very crowded. And it's also maybe even so.
I think that the beauty market is extremely crowded, and at the moment, everybody wants to launch or everybody wants to survive on something, whether it's music, whether it's entertainment, whether it's fashion. Fashion is dying, literally dying. It's really, really. But I think that actually nowadays, if you want to launch a product, I think it's one of the best time to connect with an audience. And the first thing that you should think of when you're launching is your audience. Who are you going to launch it for? Who are you going to launch it with? And especially, where are they? Where is this audience? And go where they are. If your audience is on TikTok and you think you're too old for TikTok, no. They are there. You need to go where your audience is. You need to study it. You need to try. You need to test. You need to have some little success, some little setback. And then when you're ready, launch your product. But without an audience, without potential consumer target, if you don't know who is your targeting consumer, you won't be able to go launch. So some people, they say, okay, I have a product. I'm going to launch it with a big party. I'm going to do this. It doesn't work. That was 20 years ago. This is finished. What you need to do before you even have the product nowadays, before you even have the product, start to build your community. Take your Instagram name, build a community, put some content, get the people to go on this platform. Like your post, and then your numbers are going to grow slowly, but it's going to grow. And then when you have enough numbers, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, just think about 3,000 into one room. It's a lot of people. People think that, to launch a brand, you need to have 10K. No, you don't. You can launch a brand with 1,000 people because it's a lot. If 1,000 people buy 10 products at £20, it's a lot. It's good to launch it. So you need to go where they are. You need to build that community before you have even launched your product, before they even seen it, because you need to make them want it. Okay? So without community, it's going to be really complicated, super complicated. 20 years ago, you would launch the product to get the community to come to you. Now you need to set up this community and then you offer them a product. And you would agree with me that the digital has changed everything in terms of launching product, because you can launch a product on the cheap on digital platform. It's not necessary to have a big event to launch a product anymore.
No. And especially even if I don't oppose traditional PR and relations with the press.
On n'a plus de son.
Advertiser. When you don't have any budget, you have to fight with the other 20% with the other word of mouth brands. So it's very difficult. And it is really key for a brand to be able to communicate directly to their customer. You have to own your audience, and you have to build a strong relation with them, and you cannot depend or count on other people, media, etc., to be able to communicate with them. So this is very, very, very key. And I agree with you. You don't have to wait to have your product to hit the market to start building your communication and to start building your community.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that what people have to remember is not about promoting it's not about promoting the product. It's about creating desire for the product. If you create a desire for the product, then it will work. Like, let's say, okay, people nowadays says magazines are dead. Nobody read them. That's not true. I love magazines, but I don't read them because they're boring. They don't I have to read on it. The picture, I'll just start whatever. It's, to me, it's not interesting anymore. And if I show you my house, if you can see here, all of that here, it's magazine from here to there. It's magazine absolutely everywhere. But nowadays, the magazine don't listen to me, what I like, what I used to like. Tomorrow, if there's a great magazine with great picture, with great content, with critics again, I will buy this magazine. I will buy it 10 times, £10, £20. Content, your content. And also something else, people obsess over having beautiful feeds, beautiful pictures. For a brand who sells beauty, you need beauty. For a brand that sells information, you just need information. It doesn't need to be beautiful. It needs to inform people. For a brand that sells food, it needs to look yummy. That's for sure. Because, you know, it goes with trust and everything. But every single page don't need to look amazing, but they need to have the right content. They need to have the content that they say on the box. Like, if you look on Instagram, you're going to have the meme page. The meme page are ugly. They don't work. They're all patchy. They all look disorganized. But they work. They work well because the job of a meme page is to make you laugh. Does that make you laugh? Yes. Does this do the job? Yes. So what happened? Followers, 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 followers. The content, the quality of the content. Sometimes, even, okay, I will take my page. My page is not that great. It doesn't look that amazing, but every single piece of my page is my work. I don't have inspiration. It's all shot by me, written by me, created by me. It's all me. And for that, people know that I'm genuine. And for that, people know that wherever I show, it's me. Wherever you see, it's real. And what you see is what you get. Therefore, my page is growing slowly, but everybody that goes in there is serious about it. So don't obsess about numbers on a page. Don't obsess about how many likes you have. Obsess about the quality of your content. Obsess about how many DMs. Obsess about how many times your content is being shared. Obsess with the, just be genuine and obsess with branding rather than marketing. And then when we come to that, Sophie, could you explain to people the difference between branding and marketing? Because there's a huge difference because branding and marketing. So what is it? Yeah, can you explain the difference between branding and marketing? Sophie? Sophie, can you hear me, Sophie? Yeah. Can you explain the difference between branding and marketing? marketing. The connection is really bad. It's so annoying. She's so amazing as well when she talks about that. Sophie, could you explain to us the difference between branding and marketing? Because people don't make the difference. They think that it's all the same because it's all about the brand. But it's not. Let me re-invite Sophie again because the connection is not very good. And branding and marketing is really, really key. When you're gonna identify when you're gonna determine your identity for your brand, you really need to have those two strategies, you know. Oh, Sophie, can you hear me, Sophie? Can you hear me, Sophie? Can you hear me? No, she can't. Okay. So branding and marketing are very two different things. When you do branding, it's kind of a long game. It's more long term. And like said Gianni, yes, it's quantity over quality. Yeah. So it's really going in depth in your strategies, in who you want to partner with. It's being picky. It's really choosing people. It's like having something really, really tailor-made. When you do marketing, it's really taking a net and throw it as far as possible. And then when you put it back, you see what you've got in that net and whether it works or not. So that is really, really, really important to make the difference. For instance, branding is to know your strategy 2, 3, 4, 5 years in advance, saying like from 0 to 100, this is where I want to be. Is to take this strategy and is chop it bit by bit. So this year, second year, no. And then when you know, okay, the first year, I want to be branded like that. I want to be seen like that. Okay. So what would be those activation? That's your marketing. My activation would be, I will have 5 competitions, 3 collaboration, 2 events. And that is marketing. This is the marketing. And that's different with the branding. So in a way, if you only have marketing, you're just doing. Well, you're not thinking. You're just going to be seen doing stuff, but you're not thinking. And you're going to see that you're not actually going to necessarily make money just because you have marketing. But if you have branding and marketing, therefore that is different because the branding will make you the money and the activation, the activation of the marketing is gonna really position your brand. There is a very, very, very good example for that. G.W. Anderson. I'm just going to finish what I'm saying and then I'm going to give you back the floor, Sophie. I'm trying to explain the difference between branding and marketing. And I was saying that if you have the branding, the marketing is the activation of the branding. Like your branding will be your strategies, and then we'll say, okay, so year 1, I want to be seen this way, that way, that way. Therefore, I'm going to activate my branding by having 2 collaboration, 1 ad campaign, 1 event. Am I right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, branding is all about the connection and the emotional connection you build with your customer. Okay, and marketing is how you promote and how you activate your brand strategy into all your marketing channels, so social media, website, even blah blah blah.
Exactly. So how can a new emerging fashion brand scale without spending much? Well, first of all, like Sophie said, if you're a young brand, have a very good idea. But actually, Sophie, you answered this question. 360
Yeah, I answered this question at the beginning of the conversation. Yeah.
So what would you say for that? How can you, an emerging fashion brand, scale without spending much? What would you recommend?
It's difficult and it takes time, so you have to be patient. For sure. Really. And yes, you have to take time to define your brand identity. I mean, it's very key and really to understand and to target your customer. You have to understand where they are, if they like the tone of voice of your brand, etc. So it takes time to build the right brand identity and to define the right communication and marketing strategies in order to promote your brand and sell your products. So
I always say that. I say if you do not have money, you need time.
yes.
Because will get you there. So if you don't have money, you need to build this relationship that's going to speed you up from one hoop to another hoop to another hoop to another hoop. And you have to consistently work at those relationships to be at the right time, at the right place as well. Because if you don't have the money to be able to pay for access to press, to pay for access to visibility, then you need to work the relationship. And that's what time is for. It's time. It's the essential. No money, get some time. Therefore, plan. Don't say, yeah, I'm going to launch my brand in 6 months. Say, I'm going to launch my brand in 2 years. And then by 2 years, you would have launched your brand, just like a big brand, but it would have taken you a little bit more time. Yeah. And I want to give an
and also, you also have to, what?
Connection is so bad, we haven't finished 10% of what I wanted to talk about. But there is a brand called G.W. Anderson, right? I never really liked that brand, but 10 years ago, I had a console. And I was explaining my client, she was as good, and she said, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, she's fantastic, but she doesn't have a business. And then she explained to me the business of G.W. Anderson. She said, G.W. Anderson graduated 2 years within graduating, he had a brand that had a turnover of 50,000 plus. A website, no advertisement, no parties, no launch. Within 2 years, he was turning money, because also he does something that young brand don't do. Young brand often, and you tell me if you agree with me, Sophie, they spend so much money on visibility and not enough money on the hard work, which is the sale, the lookbooks, funding their customers, databasing the places of where they could retail their product. They spend a lot of time trying to be seen and discovered. And what I would say to a small and younger brand, all this time that you're shooting stories and you're shooting visual every week, spend it on Excel and go and list every single retail, corner shop, concept store in all the UK, America, wherever you are based. And from that, build yourself a database. And from that database, shoot the lookbook, the one lookbook, because you don't need 50,000 products. You don't need 50,000 collection. Build that lookbook, send it, and work your network of retail. Work the network that's going to make you money. And therefore, that's going to make you client. And therefore, that's going to build a community. And then, within 2 years, you can do a mega launch. You would have the money, you would have the community to support you, you would have the press thinking that they've discovered you, and so on and so forth. So that's why I would recommend to a young brand, give yourself some time. Give yourself some time. 1 year, 2 years, but don't try to speed it up like a big brand. And also a smaller brand, what they are good at, they've got their ease in the street. They know the trend. They can catch with the trend before anybody else. They can catch with the young, go with the young actresses that nobody sees, that maybe have the A, B, C, D role in a movie, but she walks on the red carpet. Contact that one, because one day she'll be on the forefront of the movie. So contact those one. Spend some time looking at up and coming talent and bet on them and work with them as well and collaborate with them. That's why I would say that a young brand, go with people on the same equal level as you, and sometimes even below you, and grow together And then the big one, they're going to look at you and then they're going to invite you, you know. So that's why I would say. But then let's talk about effective marketing. Yeah. What is effective marketing, Sophie? How would you describe? Okay, no. How do you describe a marketing strategy that worked well? You know, how do you measure a marketing campaign?
I mean, before starting to build and to a marketing campaign, you really have to define what are your objectives of the campaign. So easy
Okay.
to increase the traffic to your website, easy to increase the awareness of the brand, but still it's a little bit difficult to evaluate the brand awareness. Is it to increase, I don't know, the sale in the category of the shoes in your children brand? So you really have to be very precise and define the objectives of the campaign. This is the first thing, okay? And then you have to target your audience and choose the right marketing channel to display your campaign. So it's just to be, as said, find your customer where they are and set up your marketing campaign according to that.
So, Sophie, today, let's say I have a brand, whatever brand, and I say, wow, oh, my God, I want to do a campaign and I want to do media buying. And I say, yeah, I'm going to do a campaign all over the tube. What would you say to me? What would you recommend to me?
Over what? Sorry?
Over tube station, bus stop. What would you say to me? What do you think about it? Because, you know, we are in lockdown. There's a lot of opportunities, and if I wanted to do a print campaign, where do you think, first of all, would you recommend me to do a print campaign? If I wanted to communicate nowadays, what would you recommend? I think we only have 5 minutes left, but in 2 minutes, what would you recommend?
No, honestly, if you're not, and especially if you don't have a lot of money, I would recommend to go to digital, because it involves a lot of money to create a printed campaign. And what is really important is to avoid a stop, a stop and go advertising and communication campaign with your customer. Because if you plan a campaign and then you stop during a year because you won't have enough money to invest for a second vague, let's say, then you will. Your target might see your brand, but they won't se rappeler. They won't remember the name of the brand and maybe what it's about. So it's better to have a constant investment, and according to your budget, of course, to go digital. It's for small brand. You have not a lot of options.
Yeah. So basically, what you mean that wherever the source or the channel of advertisement, you need to be consistent with your advertisement. Is that what you're saying? That if you want to play like a big brand, there is no point to have one print advertisement billboard if you can't do it all year round. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly, because it will involve a lot of money, and the result won't be efficient. The recognition of the brand won't work that way.
Okay. Okay, okay. So that's very good. That's a very good point actually, because I never thought of that like that. You know, that if you start a billboard and bus stop, you have to, and then again, that would be the difference
Do
between
it
marketing.
small, do it small, do it small, but do it regularly.
Very good. I agree. I agree. Do it small, but do it regularly wherever your consumer are at. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we don't have much time left now. I don't know how much time I've got left. Um, three advice, two advice to young entrepreneurs. One for fashion, one for beauty. What would it be?
It's the same idea. Honestly, I would say build a brand with patient also, and be consistent.
Yeah, and I think it sounds a bit stupid. It sounds a
and
bit
have
silly.
fun.
It's cool, but that's the truth. It's like saying if you want your tree to grow, there's nothing magic. Just put water it, and it's water, just water. Well, yeah, actually, just water and sunshine, and a brand that's really what it. Okay, um, the live might end, but when it ends, I will restart it again because we had so many problems with communication. We haven't finished yet, so don't worry. For a magazine, yes, what would you recommend a magazine to strive? And this is Gianni. Gianni is based in New York. She's got an amazing fashion magazine, lovely, and she would like to know how to take it off, how to get it landed somewhere. So what would you say for a magazine? How can we launch? Okay, in 2020, how do you launch a magazine? But also, Gianni, is your magazine digital? Is it print? Is it monthly? What kind of magazine? Is it free? Do you have to pay? What kind of
What
magazine
is
is
it
it?
about? What is the target? You are talking to her?
No, no, yeah, I was saying to Gianni to tell us what kind of magazine she's got. Is it a print magazine? Is it a free magazine? Is it what kind is it? Because there's so many format of magazine nowadays. Um, we need a bit more insight. But if you had to launch a magazine now, Sophie, how would you do it?
I have no idea. To be very honest, I have no idea.
Well, do you see me? What I would say, if someone wants to launch a magazine now, I would do a free magazine. I wouldn't go, yeah, but I would do a free magazine, like you have with the stylists and so on, because the reality, people don't buy the magazines, they're not interested. Now everybody reads free magazine, and you have a very high readership and consumer, and they follow. And the stylist, if I had a magazine today, I would have the black version of the stylist. That's what I would have, because advertisement, they would go crazy for that. And everybody, I get the stylist all the time, or I get like the Evening Standard as well, the supplement, but I don't necessarily read the newspaper. But trust me, every Friday I will get my supplement. And I think that this is what you need to find. You need to find the right balance between your content and your advertisement. You need to make your advertisement in the magazine so clever that it doesn't even show. It's absolutely seamless and you can't see it. And that's what I would do for a magazine nowadays. I would make a magazine with a big shopping list that people have to pay for. I would make a magazine that also does events. I would make a magazine that is very, 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 very strong online. I would make a magazine who has a popping, absolutely popping Instagram. That's how I would do a magazine nowadays. That's how I would launch it. If you do a magazine like it was done 20 years ago, it's never, ever, 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 ever going to work. Not anymore. A magazine nowadays is on Twitter, is on Twitter, Instagram. If you look at the Stylist France, which is completely digital, they stopped all the print copies of the magazine, right? It works really well. And if you look at the Instagram, it's one of the best magazine page ever. Instagram, Stylist France, best page ever. Look at that. Look at who is working. Look at which magazine people are reading. Look at what they are reading. You can have a magazine, but if the content is just for yourself and interests just you and your friend, then again, your content is not the right content. Therefore, you won't find your audience. And it's all about finding your audience. You don't have to compromise too much, but you need to find who is your audience. If your magazine doesn't take off, most probably it's because people don't want to read it. So you need to start from that. And then you need to go into the channels of the distribution. How can you distribute your magazine? What would be the new ways of doing the distribution? And also what's going to be the commercial side of it. Let me just re-invite Sophie, because it's like we've lost the connection. This is what I would do when you ask me what I would do. I don't know, because I don't work in magazine anymore. So I wouldn't know, but by everything that I see around me, that I all the stuff that I see around me at the Jean-François, at the moment, that's what I would do. I would launch. So Sophie, what I was saying is like, yeah. So what I was saying, like, if I was launching a magazine myself now, I would go totally digital, because I think it's one of the best way to communicate. Do you agree with me?
Yes, totally.
You know, I think print is good, but not as good as digital right now, unless you have a lot of money.
Probably, honestly, regarding media and magazine launches.
Yeah. So I
don't have any experience in that.
So I hope that this has answered your question, Gianni. But at the same time, this is good for photographers, artists. It's pretty much the same thing that I would do. Yeah, and like Digital Lady says, propose value. You need to have value. What is the value of your magazine? I think a magazine, if you put it like a product, what is the value of the magazine? Why is your magazine there? Why would you read the magazine if you was urgent? So you need to maybe go back to the drawing board and rethink your magazine and rethink your printable membership. Absolutely. Pre-ordering your magazine would be a good idea as well, to have it pre-order rather than going printed it and then try to sell it, because that's too much. Create maybe a digital community with your magazine, and the result of 1 year of content result into a magazine. So things like that. Back to beauty, back to fashion. What I want to ask you as well is in relation to press. When you have a brand, when you are a marketing director to the brand, you again said that you work with a lot of different agencies. How do you pick a good PR? How do you know that your PR agency is the right for your brand?
Well, your PR agency, I guess she is known and renowned in the industry you are working in, fashion or cosmetics. Yes. And she is, and your PR also has to be very connected and has to know how the media and the press is working, and she has to know and she has to be able to introduce you to the key editor-in-chief and fashion editor, for example, if you are working for a fashion brand.
And so once you have a product and you want to pitch the editor, is the PR do it for you, or you as the marketing director, do you do the pitch?
To who? Sorry,
is the marketing director, or is it the PR that pitch the editors? Like the fashion editor?
Most of the time when we organize a meeting with the editor-in-chief, even the brand manager can attend the meeting.
Okay.
But of course, the PR has to be present.
Okay.
Voilà. So it really depends of the level of the editor you are organizing a meeting, and it really depends of the subject you want to pitch to the editor. Is it a corporate subject, or is it about a new product launch?
Okay. So okay, I think we had a good round of what does a marketing director. For me, it was very insightful. It was also refreshing because it reminded me something that I don't do and I should be doing even for my own brand. Yeah. So thank you very, very much, Sophie, because
Thank you, Agnes, for
No. Thank you for your time, because I myself, I am a bit lost, and sometimes it does happen. It's easier to have idea and solution for others than your own brand or your own agencies. Well, Sophie is my go-to-go person to be okay. I'm struggling here. What do I do? She said, okay, no, you take this, you go that, do this, stop doing this, talk like that, do this, and it works. And sometimes you don't need to spend a lot of money, but if you go and see a consultant like Sophie for a small chunk of your problem, it can help you to unlock everything else, and it's really, really worth it to do so. Consultant if you have a small, especially if you have a small business, don't go and spend money that you don't have in a big PR agency. But sometime,
don't get lost.
Take some time, take on the services of a consultant punctually to help you to go back into the right direction sometime to time. Do you see what I mean? So and then if you have 200 consultants that can save you 6 months of problem, it really is worth it. So I think we are at the end of this live. So I will say thank you very much for everybody that came in, that asked questions.
The connection was so bad.
Yeah, the connection was really bad. We're very sorry about that, but we can't do nothing about it. Yes, exactly. So I advise, if you want to ask Sophie more questions, you've got, you know where to find her. Send her a DM. Please register for the conference on the Zoom, where we will talk in more detail and with more time about marketing. Very good evening, everyone. Thank you for everybody.
Talk soon.
Bye, Sophie, and thank you.
Talk soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.